So welcome everybody. Very happy to have you today. With Daniel, we'll organize this session, and with Cris, who we're very happy to have here. I'll tell a word in a few minutes. Very happy to have you for this conference from Shared Patient Experience. We are all here because we're interested in patient experience, and we are maybe experts in the field, and very happy to discuss with Cris about this topic, very important topic of all of us. Maybe I'll start by introducing Cris, whom we're again very happy to have you, Cris, here. Thank you again. It's very early here in Rochester, so we're so happy to have you for this first session in English about SPX Talks Tech. That's a new podcast series that we launched today with you. And because I know you well, I'm very happy to have you today with Daniel too. I met Cris 2 years ago in the Mayo Clinic, and it was a very big moment for me. A good moment to share about patient experience together. And Cris Ross has been Chief Information Officer of Mayo Clinic since 2012. Earlier, he had business and technology leadership roles with Scripps, and he was voted Healthcare CIO of the Year in 2022 by Inspire CIO, a 2-time cancer survivor, and he's a co-author of Diagnosed with Ed Marx. It's a book that he launched a few weeks ago, and we're very happy to let him speak about it. He speaks often about improvement of patient experience, and we had the opportunity to share about this subject. So very happy again to listen to you, Cris, today. He has served on advisory boards for many US government agencies, and he's past chair of the Board of HIMSS, which is Healthcare Information Management Systems Society, very well known. And he was educated in the University of Minnesota and Yale University. So thank you again, Cris, and please, we are happy to listen to you. You can maybe start by what do you want to say about patient experience, and will be a discussion with questions, and I know you have some materials to share and many things to say about your book. So please, Cris, thank you again.
Céline, c'est un plaisir d'être avec vous. Il est trop tôt pour moi pour que je parle français, donc je parle anglais. Merci. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be with you and your guests. As you described, my colleague Ed Marx and I just released a book about patient experience. I'm CIO at Mayo Clinic, and my colleague Ed was CIO at the Cleveland Clinic. And we both had significant healthcare journeys. And even though we were in very strong institutions, our experience could have been better in some ways. And so Ed said, we need to write a book about how to make things better. And we were lucky. Mayo Clinic Press decided to publish our book. Can I share a picture really quickly? Okay.
My pleasure. Yes, please.
Yeah, let me do this really quickly, and then I'll get back to faces again. Can you see my screen?
Yes. Yes.
So here's the pretty picture of the book. It's called Diagnosed. And again, it's written from the perspective of 2 people who had significant healthcare journeys. And I'll show you a picture here. That's me. In 2021, I had stage 3 rectal cancer twice. And this is after my 2nd surgery. And I don't like anything about this picture except my posture is pretty good and my biceps look good. But other than that, when I had the surgery, it was very long because it was a 2nd cancer. It was about 16-hour surgery. and because of where the tumor was located, my left leg was paralyzed. And in this picture, I'm learning to walk again. There's a physical therapist standing with the pole, and there's another you can see down by my leg holding me so that I can learn what to do. But also my left hand was paralyzed because of the way that I was strapped down for the surgery. I had blood clots, a big incision. I have 3 surgical drains, a catheter, an IV, a nasal gastric tube, and this is day 4, I think, of a 31-day hospitalization. I was treated then for the cancer, and then I went to a rehabilitation unit where they tried to get my hand and my leg working. And the good news is I can walk almost without a limp now, and I go hiking and do many things. But what Ed and I discovered was, again, that there were some things that could have been better for us, things we wish we knew, and we wanted to share them. And I'm happy to say more about that, but I'll pause just a minute, Celine. That's kind of why we wrote this book.
Thank you, Cris. Thank you for the introduction in your story.
Yeah.
Close.
I'm happy to say a little bit about sort of the main things that we wanted to say, and the things that we have been saying not just to patients, but also to our colleagues who, like us, run hospitals. Where would you like to go, Celine? What could I comment on next?
Maybe we could share, your CIO of the Mayo Clinic, so you have a vision of technology and how digital can be used in healthcare field. And now you have met the other side of the hospitals. And what I find very interesting, and we discussed about it together many times, is how you can meet all these two fields, as a CIO and now as a patient. What do you think we could do to improve patient experience? Do you think digital can help us? And how did it help you? I know you had many tools to help you, and I think it's interesting to share it, because, yes, go on, it's okay for you.
Absolutely. So the first thing that I would say is the digital tools are helping and will help more. But it's really important to figure out the business process and to clarify them before you throw technology at a problem. And I know, Celine, based on work you did in Toulouse, for instance, that having a process where you meet with patients and understand their needs and then design things better, that's the place to start with technology. That's not the ending place. So I really believe in patient portals and patient apps. The Mayo Clinic app was really important to me in guiding my health. But the thing that we need to fix is to change the way that we deliver healthcare so that it's organized around the needs of the patient and less around the needs of the doctors or the facility. So, what do I mean by that? First, it's things like patients want to, for instance, create their own appointments on a digital method. But that means changing the way that we schedule procedures, and that we need to work hard to make sure that the appointments happen on time. Because if I schedule an appointment for 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I don't want to wait until 5 o'clock to see the doctor. What's the point? So one of the things that Ed, my co-author, and I have talked a lot about is hospitals have been organized around processes for many, many years, and we've done that for safety and efficiency and other really good reasons. But we need to think instead about delivering healthcare as a service, like an airline flight or something else that's scheduled on time, that happens on time, and that you can expect on. And that's going to require that we do some re-engineering that starts with the patient and starts with their journey through the healthcare system. And then we can wrap technology around that. So that would be one of the main things that we would talk about.
Just go on, please. Or did you?
Sure.
No, do you want me to ask the question, or do you have something to say?
Yes, please. No, please.
My question was, again, as a CIO, did you change the way you use tools for the patients? What did you change? Because what you say is we have to work with doctors and nurses to organize the patient pathway around what all the patient needs. But when you are on the other side of the healthcare system and with the technology, how do you change things so that it can meet patient needs?
Okay, so some things that we've done is to make doctor notes visible in our app in real time, and that helps people understand their journey better. I would caution it's a little bit of a two-sided problem. We make notes available when they're released, so a patient could read a radiology report or a pathology report and learn something negative before their doctor can explain it to them. Well, that can be a problem, but most people want to get their records, we've discovered, right away. And they want to be able to take their records and have them used by the next doctor who treats them in another institution. So we've spent a lot of time on how to make those notes available quickly and to make them portable so that they can easily transfer someplace else. And because since many patients come to Mayo Clinic from someplace else and then go back home, it's important for us to be able to do that. So that would be one thing. The second has been we've increased the number of appointment types that can be scheduled online. So we started with simple things like scheduling a simple examination with a GP or a mammogram or something like that. And now increasingly we'll be able to do things like schedule chemotherapy infusions online or other kinds of follow-up visits. Probably not scheduling surgeries online for a while, but many procedures can be done online. So sharing data and providing the kind of digital experience we're used to when we book a train trip or an airplane flight, we want to bring that to healthcare. So that's a start.
Very interesting, because what we discussed about when we were together is that when you're hospitalized as a patient, you can access your information before the doctor has the information. Very special. We can't imagine it in France, but yeah, it works this way in the US, in Mayo Clinic, and it's very interesting.
We couldn't imagine it either until we did it. And it is a big cultural change, and it has some positive and negative aspects.
Yeah.
One other thing that we've worked on is people talk a lot about a digital front door. How do I get into a clinic or a hospital? One thing that I noticed is we have really bad digital back doors. When you're done as a patient, what tools do I have to help me stay healthy? So we've done a lot more around creating what we call cancer survivorship plans, so that you have a reference to be able to go back to understand what's the best instructions and what side effects can you expect, and when should you call the doctor, and when can you just take care of yourself, for example. And that's been really important in giving people some care as they leave the hospital. So I believe in a digital front door and a digital back door.
In fact, we can say that let patient access to information is the important part of patient experience, to know their records, to access their records in real time, because it belongs to them, we could say, and to access information to be able to take care of themselves.
Yes. Yes. Another thing that we've emphasized is, we know that patients do better when they have in English we would say a village, people around them who can support them, right? And so we've done things like made it possible for a second person to see my record in a patient portal. I can give permission to a caregiver to get access to my material. And that's very, very helpful. When you go to the doctor, especially if it's complicated or maybe it's bad news, I don't know about you, but when I was a patient, I couldn't always hear well. And it was helpful to me to have someone come with me to my appointments, but sometimes people were not available. So having that data available where I can read the doctor's notes more carefully will help. In my perfect world, we will use the Gen AI tools so that I can ask questions like, what does this mean? Or the doctor can write a summary in a clinical way, but have the Gen AI tool summarize it in a way that, as a non-medical professional, I can understand it. So we're doing a lot with that right now. It's not available publicly yet, but we're working on chatbots for lots of purposes. Chatbots internally and chatbots that a patient can use. I'm excited about that.
Very interesting. In fact, you're now interested in AI, how it can help patients and how it can help have them access information and the right information, not the medical information with words that we can understand. Very, very interesting. And I think it's the future of healthcare, probably, yes, as you said.
Especially if it's connected with search in good ways. So the Gen AI tools, and I don't know if your audience is mainly clinical or technical, but we're all blending now. The Gen AI tools are really good at speaking to us in language we understand. The tools are beautiful. They speak so nicely, but sometimes they hallucinate, right? They can get things wrong. So if you have the ability to combine search with Gen AI, the quality of the language improves massively, and hallucination goes down. But it also provides a tool for a patient to have a conversation with the record and not just receive it passively. So I think things are going to really change, and we may get back to doctors being able to practice medicine using dialogue rather than, at least in the US, and I know many places in Europe, the electronic health record has gotten so heavyweight that it feels like the doctors are serving the computer and not the other way around. So if we can get away from clicking boxes and more into talking and reading, I think that's better for both clinician and for patient.
Very interesting. Thank you, Cris. Thank you. I think it's time for questions, and I have one here. How does it work in Mayo Clinic with the patients who are on digital friendly?
Oh, it's a great question. So first, we thought, for instance, that people who were older or maybe low income might be less using computers, and it turns out that's not true. That actually people over the age of 65 are some of the most intense users of digital things, but not everyone is. So I have doctors all the time who will sometimes say, we should get rid of paper, we should never print anything, we should do everything digitally. But we have others who are very clear that we can't do that. So we print lots of paper. We've spent a lot of time trying to create very simple, effective, but comprehensive, what we call patient appointment guides. And it has information that you need to prepare for your visit, an explanation of what's going to happen in your visit. The thing we're not so good about now is telling someone what happened in your visit to produce that printed record. Unfortunately, because digital has become so popular, and almost 3/4 of our patients use the portal completely, that I think we've learned a little bit less how to give a written summary, a on-paper summary to a patient.
Very interesting. In our experience, it's about 20% of patients who don't connect in the patient's portal. Is it the same in Mayo Clinic? It's higher. It's less, I suppose.
About 20% do not.
Oh, the same. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
The same as in France. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that you have to print. Okay. Thank you, Cris. Another question. Thanks to the recognition of the importance of the patient experience, what percentage of Mayo Clinic systems have had to be redacted?
Oh boy. Well, we modernized our electronic health record, the core system. We changed that in 2018 through 2019. We actually began in 2015. So from 2015 to 2019, we changed all of our clinical systems, including our radiology PACS system and so on. We're right now beginning a project to change our laboratory system. We've introduced systems for digital pathology. We've rewritten our patient portal. So, I know I've spent a lot of time in France, and maybe a hospital there is spending 1.5% to 3% of revenue on technology. We spend about double that.
6%.
And, digital companies spend 5% to 6% of their revenue on technology. And if hospitals are going to be digital, I say to my colleagues in the US and my friends in France, we're all going to have to spend 4, 5, 6% of revenue on technology, at least during a period while we're catching up.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Another question. What has been the biggest effort required to achieve a global change at Mayo Clinic? Maybe this one?
Well, it's been changing the way that our clinicians practice and having them agree. So before we modernized our electronic health record system, many places used the electronic tool as kind of a hammer to make people do things a certain way, and it doesn't go well. So we had councils of doctors decide in advance, how are we going to practice medicine in all the locations of Mayo Clinic? We have 3 main locations in the US, in Florida, Arizona, and Minnesota. That was so hard to get the doctors to agree. I spent some time with the Veterans Administration, which in the US takes care of veterans of armed service. They're having a terrible time rolling out their electronic medical record system because they're doing it one at a time. The doctors have not agreed in advance how to practice medicine. And every time the system is introduced, the doctors don't like it because they have to use a new system and they have to practice medicine slightly differently. So order sets and recommended pathways and all the details we figured out first before we put technology around it. That, by far, that was the hardest thing to do.
Okay. Thank you. We have many questions. We won't have time for all of them, but you already answered. For instance, what's your next project? You talked about AI, best practice. You almost answered already. And the other one was thank you for sharing your story experience. I want to say, because I share the assessment. I really share your view on this journey towards putting the patient at the center. What would you have done differently? What are your lessons learned? What went wrong? Thank you very much for sharing what you can. You already answered, but maybe one or two words to conclude on for this question.
Well, the thing that I would say is I think we are all now in a little bit of a privileged position that we've learned how technology has been applied elsewhere, and we can copy many models from other places and apply them to healthcare. The thing that I would say is we've introduced moving away from processes towards service design. And when we design healthcare as a service, it requires that people work well together, that it's not. Before it was, well, this is the way we do things in our department, and in this other department we do things a different way, and the patient suffers. If we change that and say, no, we're going to design what the patient wants to have delivered through the whole system, and we all have to compromise and bend a little bit, patients will absolutely benefit. And we know that that's good for their health, and it will let people live more healthy lives and spend less time in the hospital and recover better, all those things. So it's the next generation. I'm very, very excited about it.
Healthcare as a service. I think it's a good word. And I want to ask you a question, because at times we do it. What would be your personal contribution to patient experience in the next 5 years before to conclude?
Well, I'm going to keep talking about it. And I'm going to be honest that the experience I had at Mayo was great, but it wasn't as great as it could be, and there's so much more we can do. So I don't know, I may annoy my colleagues by being outspoken, but I'm not going to stop.
Okay.
That's what I'm going to do.
Oh, thank you so much, Cris. Thank you for having shared your experience, for all what you taught today, and for this conclusion. And I will let Daniel to conclude this session. But again, thank you very much for having me my guest today.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Céline, and thanks a lot, Cris. It was really a very, very inspiring talk. And so let me conclude on an upcoming event that we are organizing at Shared Patient Experience, which is a colloquium on October 8th, 9th, and 10th of October in Barcelona, where we will have also inspiring talks, hopefully as interesting as today. So thanks again, Cris, and for the people participating. If you did not get registered to the colloquium in Barcelona, there are still some free seats, so please feel free.
Yes, we'll see you in Barcelona. I hope everyone will come. So see you soon. Thank you again, Cris. Thank you to everyone for having shared this moment with us. And yes, we will let you know when is our next session. See you soon. You can find the video on YouTube from tomorrow. Thank you again, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
See you. Bye.